Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 2018 Victoria Korea Business Forum. 여러분 안녕하세요. 2018년 빅토리아 코리아 비즈니스 포럼에 와주셔서 감사합니다. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land upon which today we are meeting, the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. I pay my respects to their elders, past and present. My name is Liz Griffin, and I will be your MC for today. Today I wear three hats in my role as MC. First and foremost, I am the Executive Director of the Australia-Korea Business Council. I am also the President of the Australia-Korea Young Professionals Association and a past recipient of the Victorian Government's Hamer Scholarship Program to Korea. My working career has been devoted to promoting Australia-Korea business and economic relations, so it's very exciting for me to see so many people here today, keen to learn more about the opportunities that our bilateral relationship presents. So thank you all for coming. I'd also like to thank the Victorian Minister for Trade and Investment, Innovation and Digital Economy and Small Business, the Honourable Philip Dallidakis, for attending this morning, as well as our highly respected list of guest speakers for agreeing to share your wisdom and thoughts. We look forward to listening to your unique perspectives. To put it mildly, it's been a very exciting time for the region. On Tuesday, we saw something that many people never expected to see in their lifetime: the meeting between Kim Jong-un and Donald Trump. I, like most people in this room, read the tweets, saw the photographs, and followed the live coverage with a healthy dose of cynicism and bewilderment. But while much remains to be seen, North Korea engaging with the US and the rest of the world could represent the first steps of something more significant and productive. In addition, yesterday's local elections in South Korea were held, which consolidated the President Moon Jae-in's party's position. Moon has just commenced his second year as Korea's president and is riding a wave of popularity, fueled by support of Korea's younger generation. He is humble, highly accessible, and appears genuinely concerned for the people and their welfare. He presents a friendly, approachable, and upbeat image, which has been very well received by the Korean people. And to bring it back all to Australia, we're here today to celebrate the Victoria-Korea relationship. Victoria and South Korea share an expanding relationship based on two-way trade in goods and services, and strong education and cultural ties. The ties have been strengthened following the opening of a Victorian Government business office in Seoul in 2014. South Korea is Victoria's 8th largest trading partner and 7th largest merchandise export market. It is also a major market for Victorian aluminium, meat and wool, and is of increasing importance for emerging industries such as energy, health and aged care, tourism, and international education. South Korea is one of Victoria's major import sources of refined petroleum and motor vehicles. Victoria's sister state relationship with Busan City underpins Victoria's economic and people-to-people links with South Korea. The sister state relationship was established in 1994 and will next year celebrate its 25th anniversary. Today's event has been organised by the 5 leading organisations working in the Australia-Korea space. First, KOTRA, Korea's Trade and Investment Agency, is dedicated to helping Australians invest in Korea. You will hear shortly from Trade Commissioner Pyon, who will outline some of the investment opportunities in Korea. And thank you, KOTRA, for your sponsorship today. The Victorian Government. We will soon hear from Minister Dallidakis, who will expand on our important relationship with Korea. But I also just wanted to acknowledge Nicole Andrews and maybe just quickly ask her to stand up. Nicole is a fantastic resource in the Victorian Government, so I encourage you to meet Nicole in the breaks if you don't know her already. Third, the Korean Consulate General, based here in Melbourne, and the Korean Consul General will be providing some closing remarks later today. Fourth, the Australia-Korea Young Professionals Association. This association is a not-for-profit organisation that aims to build awareness and strengthen networks among young professionals aged between 25 and 40 with an interest in the Australia-Korea relationship. We have all of the committee members here today, so I might just quickly ask them to stand so that we know who they are. Thank you. And lastly, the Australia Korea Business Council, of which I am the Executive Director. The AKBC is a member-based organisation tasked with promoting trade and investment between Australia and Korea. The Australia Korea Business Council is open for membership, and we host a range of events such as this one today to help our members succeed in Korea. We also conduct Doing Business in Korea workshops. These workshops are designed to help senior executives better understand Korea's history, culture, society, economy and political landscape to enable them to succeed in Korea. The biggest event that we hold each year, however, is our joint meeting with our counterpart in Korea, the Korea-Australia Business Council. The chair of our Korean counterpart is the CEO of POSCO, Australia's single largest customer, and our chair is the Honourable Mark Vaile, former Deputy Prime Minister of Australia. These two chairmen lead the senior delegation, and this year we will be meeting over 2 days from the 29th and 30th of October. And Minister Dalidakis will be pleased to know that we're meeting in Busan, Victoria's sister city. Planned activities for these days include a site visit to the new port in Busan, welcome dinner, the Future Leaders Forum, and a breakfast briefing by the Australian Ambassador. So if anyone is interested, please reach out to me later. We also have two representatives from the AKBC board here today, Simon Yu from EY and Bill Patterson, the former Australian Ambassador to Korea, who we'll be hearing from shortly. In addition to the huge lineup of speakers today, I just quickly wanted to mention that we also have two VIP guests joining us today. First, Caroline Dunlop, the President of Amore Pacific. Caroline has been extremely busy over the last couple of weeks and has recently succeeded in opening the first Innisfree store in Melbourne last week, which received such a huge response. So congratulations on your efforts, Caroline, and welcome. And Laura Anderson, from the chair of SBI Global. Laura Anderson was recently invited by the Korean government to travel to Korea under the Korea's Foundation's Distinguished Guest Program. So thank you for joining us today, Laura. I also just wanted to give a quick shout out to Michael from Minuteman Press to say thank you very much for the printing services that you provided for today. So today, no doubt, we are set for a great day exploring some of the opportunities between Victoria and Korea. Before I introduce the Minister, I will first outline the day's proceedings. We will start with some introductory remarks, followed by session 1, which focuses on investment opportunities. After session 1, we will break for morning tea and coffee and then come back in here for session 2, which focuses on furthering the understanding of Australia-Korea relations. We also have a lucky door prize today. Now, I'm running out of time, so I will explain what this is after the morning tea break. But we do, as a hint, we do have the CEO of Baseball Australia here who will present the prize later today. I'm also just going to quickly mention that we are doing some filming in the room just opposite, so you will see some of our speakers come in and out throughout the day. We hope that this doesn't cause too much distraction and appreciate your understanding. So without further ado, I would like to now introduce the Victorian Minister for Trade and Investment, Minister Dalidakis.
So thank you to Liz for what is going to be a fantastic day. I've got no doubt that we're going to see an expansion of both the Victorian and Korean relationship, but hopefully an expansion of your membership. So for those people in the room that are not members of the association, I implore you to join and support Liz so that we can have more events like this one and indeed support the growing relationship. Now, I wish to make note that the choice of shirt this morning was not an accident. The choice of shirt, and I should stand next to the graphics because then it would be far more apparent, was chosen to pay tribute, of course, to both our countries. And I must say that it's an absolute delight to be able to speak at the event this morning. I'm about to shoot off to Ballarat, hence the slightly more casual approach to my dressing this morning again. But let me formally begin by acknowledging the traditional owners on the land of which we meet and pay my respects to their elders past and present. Let me also acknowledge, please, the Consul General, Kim, and we met just before we got underway this morning, and it's fair to say that there is a lot of work for us to do together. We have developed a strong relationship since I was the Trade Minister with the Korean Consulate, with obviously Consul General Joe before, and so we look forward to continuing that work as well. And of course, a trade relationship is two ways. It's not about one side winning at the expense of another. It's about making sure that we provide opportunity to both our people. And as the Consul General and I talked about, the economic relationship is only one part, and it should never be the part. It should never be the only part. It should always be reflective of an opportunity to provide job, investment, growth, and to see our two peoples work more closely together. But of course, the cultural component, for me, is as important, if not more important, because to enable trade relations, enable opportunity for our companies to work together, what we need to do is ensure that we continue to build that trust, that friendship, that relationship, because once that trust is built, once that respect is seen, then of course everything else is made possible from there. So in effect, whilst I have the title Minister for Trade and Investment amongst others, really my title would be far more correctly and aptly named if it was the Minister for Friendship and Relationship Development. We also have the Trade Commissioner, Byun. Lovely to have you here, and both, of course, the Consul General and the Trade Commissioner are relatively new to their postings, and I just want you to see that the weather today is just normal everyday weather in Melbourne. And if you're ever concerned about the weather, just wait 5 minutes and hopefully it will change. To Bill Patterson, of course, the former Australian ambassador to Korea and board member of the Australian Korea Business Council, it's a great pleasure to have you here. And Laura Anderson, the chair of LaunchVic. Obviously, Liz mentioned her in the opening remarks, but LaunchVic is part of my innovation portfolio, a $60 million startup fund. And Laura, it's nice to see you here. And last but not least, and I do leave Liz to last, Liz Griffin, of course, who needs really no introduction. A former Hamer Scholarship participant and winner for Victoria. Of course, for those of you that are not aware of what the Hamer Scholarships do, they provide Victorians an opportunity to go and study overseas in Korea and China, and recently I announced Latin America as well. And so to have Liz as one of our Hamer Scholarship participants and winners from Korea, now being, of course, the Executive Director of the Korea Business Council, is a great example to others what can be achieved and what pathways do exist for people to participate. Now, it would be no fun if I came here today and didn't have something special to announce. And I do. Because as I said, that would be no fun at all. So what I want to announce is that the Victorian Government supports the relationship deeply. As I explained to the Consul General, I have a very personal relationship with Korea myself. In fact, my children's primary school, although my oldest daughter just started high school this year, my children's primary school is Ormond Primary. Of course in Ormond, for want of a better term, but the significance of Ormond Primary to this room is that for nearly, over 20 years in fact, the language taught in the school is Korean. So my daughters, my eldest daughter, my youngest daughter, and now my son, who just started primary school this year, have all been learning Korean as part of their daily education at the school. And I think it's important to reflect that it's a government primary school that teaches Korean, and that opportunity is there to continue. And I remember when I first told Consul General Joe that my daughter, the first time I met the Consul General, my daughter had just won the Korean language prize for her year level at school, and he was quite excited and offered me a whole range of teachers to be able to assist my children's development of their language skills. Unfortunately, of course, I wasn't able to take him up on that offer, but suffice to say, the language came in handy. Again, I told this story to the Consul General. I do want to share it with you because it displays that the world we live in is so much smaller today than it's ever been. In early April, my family, my mother and my wife and my children went to China for a holiday during school holidays. We went there because my mother was born in Shanghai, my grandparents having fled Nazi Germany in late 1938-39. While we were in Shanghai on one evening, we went on the Bund. For those of you that know Shanghai well, we went across the road to look at the Pudong, and the depth of people was about 5 metres. It was huge. The amount of people there was amazing. And we wiggled our way to the front, and there in front of where we were standing were a group of about 6 young Asian women in their early 20s. And they saw my children and the Western faces, and they started to speak to them in English. And as my children started to ask them where they were from Seoul. They were from Korea. So they then, my children, started to speak to them in Korean. And the look of amazement and surprise on the faces of these young women was just something that you wish you could bottle up. There we were, an Australian family in China, some young Korean women in Shanghai, them speaking English to us and my children speaking Korean to them. I tell you, you couldn't have scripted it any better. But it's a great example of the opportunities that are provided to people around the world and why we need to be a part of both our region and, more importantly, a part of the world trade and also the opportunities that they realise. So coming back to the opportunities, to have the Victorian Korean Chamber, the Australian Korean Chamber, with their office here in Melbourne is very important to us. And so it's my great pleasure to announce to you that whilst we have had a trial previously of the Korean Chamber at International Chamber House, I can announce to you today that after some slight rectification works that we need to make to Chamber House in terms of space, that by the end of this year we expect to be able to provide a permanent home to the Chamber at International Chamber House. I thank you for that, but it's no less than what the Chamber deserves. It's no less than what our relationship deserves. It shows the investment, it shows the continued importance, and it shows the fact that the Victorian Government continues to be serious about maintaining that relationship, developing it, and indeed strengthening it. We, of course, have much to talk about in terms of success. The Korea-Australia Free Trade Agreement has seen already significant increases. When I was in Korea some time ago, we could already celebrate that in the short time that the Free Trade Agreement had come into action, that we had significant sales in table grapes from Victoria. We had significant sales in Victorian lamb as a result of work that both we and the MLA, the Meat Livestock Industry Association, had contributed. In fact, if you go to Korea now, whilst previously it was unlikely, now you will probably see lamb on Korean barbecue menus. And so I pay tribute to the work that MLA has done in that area to forge a new way and a new opportunity within that industry too. I want to finish up on saying that the Hamer Scholarships, I started talking about Liz as being a Hamer Scholar. I want to finish on this point because this is very important for us. 9 Victorian Hamer Scholarship recipients will attend Korean universities in the next 12 months. 50 Victorian students have participated in our HAMA scholarships in Korea to date. This investment in people, above and beyond anything, is what we are here to do as a government. This investment in our relationship is beyond what normal governments may think is their duty, but it is what I believe is our primary duty. And so I want to finish on thanking those people that contribute so much of themselves to the relationship and the opportunities we have. Liz held out Nicole Andrews as being worthy of your applause. Nicole doesn't do it alone either. We don't have these events by accident or by osmosis. So I just wish to thank each and every one, whether they're departmental staff, whether they're people that volunteer their time in the chamber. I want to finish on thanking them for their investment in our relationship, for their investment in ensuring that our people-to-people links is something that we value, is something that we develop. And I want to wish you well today. To Consul General, I want to thank you. I believe that we have a very exciting time ahead, and I couldn't be happier to have you here in Melbourne and work with you as well. So thank you very much. Good luck for today. I won't be putting a card into the draw because sometimes I win them, and that gets a bit awkward. In fact, I can tell you last year I was at a football game as a guest of the Western Bulldogs, and I'm a St Kilda supporter, so I've not had much love this year, or enjoyment anyway. And the prize in the business card draw was a beautiful piece of Aboriginal art. And the look on the MC's face when my card was pulled out, and they looked at me and they said, "Are we going to do a redraw?" And I said, "No, I will be taking that." So I will not be putting my card in today, but that doesn't mean to say that I'm not interested in the prize. So wish you well today. I thank you for coming, but more importantly, I thank you for your support in our relationship. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister Dalidakis, and I'm very pleased at the announcement, so thank you very much. I look forward to returning to the International Chamber House at the end of the year. Thank you also for sharing your fantastic anecdote. I think it just does really highlight the importance of education and us trying to make an effort in terms of learning the language. Given that I've studied in Korea for 2.5 years and speak the language fairly well, and I feel that through the language learning you really do, it does help you establish deeper and meaningful connections with the Korean people. So thank you for highlighting the importance of that, and it's great to hear that your children can speak Korean too. And now would now like to welcome to the stage Bill Patterson. I'm very fortunate enough to work with Bill in my role as Executive Director of the Australia Korea Business Council. Bill is a director and has also served as the Australian Ambassador to the Republic of Korea from 2013 to 2016, at which time he was duly accredited also to North Korea and Mongolia. Bill was Australia's representative on the United Nations Command for Korea and worked closely with US Forces Korea, positioning Australia as a key security partner to both the US and the Republic of Korea. Please join me in welcoming Bill.
Good morning, Annyeong Hasmeha. Thank you, Liz, for the invitation to come here today, and thank you all for coming. This is one of the biggest turn-ups I think we've had at an AKBC event, and it's indicative, I think, of the growing understanding of Korea and the opportunities that exist in our relationship. Having said that, I still think the Republic of Korea is largely sort of unknown in Australia. There's little appreciation here of its importance to Australia. You know, the Korean War is the forgotten war. Our car, our TV, our smartphone, our laptop, our fridge, and our air conditioner may be Korean, but we really don't care. It might as well be Chinese or Japanese or whatever. We're not really aware of the origin of this product. But all this means that our two-way trade now is such that Korea has become Australia's third largest export market, its fourth largest trading partner, trade and investment partner, two-way overall, and we are Korea's second largest defence partner. So let me talk a little bit about Korea, because some of you, well, there are a number of you are Korean, so you know all this, but for those of you who are not, Korea is the third most densely populated country in the world. Korea, the land area of the Republic of Korea, when I talk about the Republic of Korea, that's South Korea, is only 2/3 the size of the state of Victoria. And it's 70% mountainous and contains now 51 million people. So it's very, very different from the conditions we have here in Australia. Until the sort of mid-1960s, it was extremely poor and very agricultural. And of course now it's highly urbanised. It has, for those of you who've been there, you'll know it has the fastest Wi-Fi in the world. It has a fabulous fast train network and highway system. In Seoul and other cities, one of the best subway systems you'll see anywhere. It has, and this is something I know it's important to Liz, it has the world's best women golfers. 40% of the world's top women golfers are Korean. And of course, aside from all those appliances that I mentioned before, Korea is a very big producer of computer chips, increasingly, as we've heard already today, of cosmetics globally, biopharmaceuticals, gaming, K-pop in music. Some of you will know all about that. And this is the modern Korea. The early industrialised Korea, a lot of basic industries, petrochemicals, steel manufacture, all those things, all of which totals up to Korea being now the 12th largest economy in the world and a close partner of Australia in the G20 group of industrialised economies. In the 1960s to 1980s, Korea was very much at what we called then an Asian tiger economy with extraordinarily fast growth rates and a development of great pride in Korea's achievements. But it really has now got all the challenges of a fully developed economy. Its growth rate has slowed from around 8% a year to around 3% a year, very like Australia. But it is consistently growing, and continues to develop steadily at that 3% growth rate a year. It has, of course, I've talked about modern Korea, but Korea has something like 30,000 years of known history, and over that time has been invaded, according to some accounts, no less than about 900 times. Through three major dynasties. What have I done here? I hope I've not caused some great problem there. Three major dynasties: the Koryo dynasty, the Shilla dynasty, and the Chosun Confucian dynasty. So there's an enormous lot of history that informs modern Korea, and for much of this history, Korea was a very isolated and largely closed society. Possibly in some ways like North Korea is now. But of course, to go there now, there's no more cosmopolitan place in the world really than modern Korea. Australia and Korea are economies of comparable size. Korea now has a GDP of around, I think last year was about $1,530 billion. Roughly comparable to Australia, and in purchasing power parity terms, it's often used nowadays, $2,026 billion. GDP per capita remains much higher in Australia, but has grown quite strongly in Korea. It's now over $30,000 per person. Australia's relationship with modern Korea really began over a century ago when Protestant missionaries set up mission schools and hospitals in the Busan area, and nothing much happened between their arrival and the Korean War from 1950 to 1953. During the Korean War, 18,000 Australians served in the United Nations Command defending the Republic of Korea. 340 of those died and 1,300 were wounded. So that was a major landmark at that time, but again, our relationship trailed off a bit after that, but we've now had a diplomatic relationship for well over 50 years, and Australia has remained in the UN Command for Korea ever since that time. Like Korea, we are an alliance partner of the United States and a close defence partner of Korea. Australia has done a lot to power Korea's economic development, largely through the provision of raw materials and agricultural items. Liz mentioned POSCO, the Korean leading steel maker, one of the most advanced steel makers in the world. 70% of its raw materials, its iron ore and its coking coal, come from Australia. In fact, I think on coking coal it's even higher than that. POSCO has been a wonderful partner for Australia and a great supporter of the AKBC and the Korea-Australia Business Council. We've also been a major supplier of steaming coal, powering Korean power generation, and more recently of LNG. And small amounts of uranium, of course, also for nuclear power. But in agriculture, Australia has been a big supplier for a long time of wheat, other grains, meat, and increasingly now meat and fresh food. The beef trade, Minister Dalidakis spoke about the growth in lamb. Lamb exports are growing off a very low base but growing very fast. Beef exports now, I think last year were something like $1.2 billion to Korea, just a major market for us. Increasingly, though, it's in services trade where we see the big growth in Australian trade. And by that I mean things like tourism and education. We have around, somewhere I think, between 28 and 30,000 Korean students studying in Australian institutions. That's worth at least $750 million per year for Australia. And Korean tourism to Australia has grown very strongly, and I think last year was over 300,000. So I don't have a current figure for Australian tourism to Korea. It's significantly less, but also growing quite strongly. And those who travel to Korea for the first time usually come back deeply impressed by the country. I mentioned before the imports we have, obviously motor vehicles, machinery, consumer durables, electronics, of course, but ships, oil and gas platforms, which are the big new Prelude offshore LNG facility off northwest Australia, was built by Samsung Heavy Industries, as was the Ichthys platform now just recently arrived in Darwin, powering two of our new major LNG production facilities, all made in Korea. But what some of you probably don't realise, that when you fill up your car at a petrol station, that probably much of that gas is coming from Korea. As Australian refinery capacity has declined, a great deal of our refined petroleum products now are refined in Singapore and also Republic of Korea. So Korea has become a major supplier of petroleum. So we have a very highly complementary trade relationship, and the area I think we're going to see growth is in a lot more in the service industry side, particularly financial services, where Korea has still some way to go, I think, to become a more advanced services economy, and Australia has a lot to offer there. But also I think in professional services, things like legal services, architecture and other professional service areas. In 2014, as Minister Dalidakis noted, we concluded a free trade agreement between Australia and the Republic of Korea. That has been very, very successful, and we've seen a growth in things like Australian wine exports, fresh food exports, table grapes, cherries, other products, and seeing more Korean products coming into the Australian market as a result too, fresh food products as well. I think perhaps I might leave it there because I know we're running short of time, but I'd be very happy in the course of the day when we have a panel discussion to talk about that. Some of you who will have been following international events over the last week will have questions about what's happening on the Korean Peninsula in the wake of President Trump's meeting with Kim Jong-un. Happy to talk about that as well. But I think our focus today will naturally be on where the opportunities lie for Australia with the Republic of Korea. I'm not going to make any predictions about when North Korea might open up and present a similar set of opportunities for us, although let's hope we're headed down that path. Thank you very much for your time this morning.
Thanks, Bill. Very well summarised. Just to pick up on two things that you mentioned, it never really ceases to amaze me how many Korean products we use day to day, but many of us just simply don't know that they're Korean, whether it's our LG or Samsung, Hyundai or Kia, or even the refined petroleum, as Bill was saying, that we put into our cars every day. We come into contact with these products every single day, yet many of us don't realise that they're Korean. So I think we still do have some work to do there in enhancing the profile of those Korean companies, and also more broadly just Korea in general in Australia. But certainly the news this week and the attention on the North Korea and the summit is in our favour, where at least we're getting some good media exposure. The other point that I just wanted to pick up on as well is Australia's contribution to the Korean War. And this is something that many Koreans have simply not forgotten. Every time I go back to Korea and I have conversations with particularly the older generation, they always stop and reflect and thank me, and by association Australia, for their contribution to the war. And I know that the Korean consulate at the moment is building a Korean War Memorial project in Maribyrnong, so they're definitely not forgetting Australia's contribution, so it's a fantastic gesture. Moving along, I would now like to welcome Young-Sop-Hyun, the Trade Commissioner from KOTRA, to the stage to outline some of the new and emerging opportunities in South Korea.
Hello, my name is Young-Sop-Hyun. I'm new Trade Commissioner of Korea in Melbourne. It's been a great pleasure and a very honor to introduce new and emerging industries of Korea. I just allowed 15 minutes, but I prepared 60 pages of slides. So yes, I'm trying my best to make it shorten. Yes, let me start. Yeah, this is my title of the presentation. Korea's economy. When you look at the major economic index of Korea, Korea ranked 11th in the world GDP, and 8th trade volume, and 4th in current account balance. And Korea has demonstrated an outstanding economic growth rate over the years. This year, we are expecting around 3% GDP growth rate. From 2006, Korea has shown over the 150% increase in exports over the last 10 years. When it comes to ratio of the public debt to GDP, Korea has maintained a stable level and recording one of the lowest level among OECD countries. Despite some challenges, you can see the pictures. The state remained very stable. The red lines illustrate Korea's stock market, and the other colors represent Japan, Hong Kong, and Singapore stock market. You can see two main person over there, Mr. Kim and Mr. Trump. Yes, we will be getting better after these two people's meeting this week. I hope. As previously mentioned, because of the ongoing strong economic stability, Korea was rated as a highly stable market by 3 major credit rating agencies. The country now has the highest rating in all Northeast Asia. Okay, let's take a look at the strengths of Korea. Why Korea? The slide you are looking at and right now illustrates Korea's #1 industries based on sales and volume. And these industries include smartphones you are using every day, auto parts and lithium batteries, and so on. I'm sure some of you, these names look familiar to you. These 15 companies were listed in the Fortune Global 500. Korea is highly accessible to China with the Incheon Airport offering over the 1,500 flights to 40 cities every week. So you can go Incheon and fly to major cities of China in 1 and 2 hours. Another strategic position of Korea is its accessibility to the North Pole route. So it will be, if you were to transport goods to Europe using North Pole route, it will be around the shortened by 7,000 kilometers and 10 days. Domestic market. I understand important parts of Korea's appear as an investment for investors, like carsale.com are very attractive market of domestic market and IT infrastructure we have. So according to the World Economic Forum study on domestic market volume, Korea ranked 13th among 140 countries. So we can listen in more detail from Mr. Cameron McIntyre, CEO of carsale.com in later session. B2C e-commerce index. Korea has very excellent e-commerce infrastructure. In B2C e-commerce index, which factors the internet penetration rate and credit cards as well as delivery system, Korea ranked number 7 in the world and number 2 in Asia. Here are some Korean branches of global brands that have achieved top sales in the world. Global companies from various fields, including those in the fields of entertainment, fashion, and beauty, are recognizing the Korean market as a test bed for new products and new market. Most innovative in the world. According to Bloomberg's Business Week ranking, Korea is ranked as the most innovative country in the world. I believe so. Korea comes in number 2nd in total expenditure on spend on R&D. Korea also has a great intellectual property environment. The Global Intellectual Property Center, IPC, ranked Korea at 19th place among 45 countries in the IP index. Korea offers world-class IT infrastructure so that you can conduct business without limits. We already mentioned Korea's state-of-the-art internet and mobile technology that has been at the center of the growth for startups. Even Eric Schmidt, the former CEO of Google, recognized Korea's mobile environment as the main factors of this growth. Korea placed 3rd place in UN e-government survey. Not only developing countries, but also developed countries like such as Germany are benchmarking on our e-government system. We have the highest level of tertiary education among OECD nations. We have FTA relation with 52 countries, including Australia, we mentioned earlier, EU and US, and China, which are world's 3 largest market. With our comprehensive FTA network and the power of the Made in Korea brand, global companies can expect to build their network with Chinese and global markets. Let's talk about foreign direct investment trend of Korea right now. Last year, Korea's inbound FDI increased by 7.7% from the previous year to record high again. By region, Asia was the biggest source of FDI to Korea in 2017. I hope Australia increased the investment to Korea also. By countries, United States was the biggest, and second Japan, second UK, and third from Japan. Korea's total inbound FDI increased in 2017 thanks to the rise in the facility investment in manufacturing sectors. So we have those kind of very excellent manufacturing facility. So Australia is getting leading of those manufacturing. So Korea is the very promising investment partner for manufacturing. FDI by type. Greenfield investment, which entail the establishment of new factory or business facility, increased for 4 years. 4 years low, and it reached a record high again in 2017. An increasing number of foreign invested companies being established in Korea for the purpose of entering Korean market or utilizing Korea's global network. Currently, 223 enterprises of Fortune Global 500 have entered into Korean financial, technology, motor vehicle, and parts, and healthcare markets. Investment opportunities in new and emerging industries. There are several industries I'm going to mention today, which you can focus on from now on. IoT, Internet of Things. The global market is rapidly growing for the Internet of Things, which connects everything from people, objects, and spaces to the Internet, and thereby collects, produce, shares, and use data. Among G20 countries, Korea was recognized as second best prepared to realize IoT and use it to create profit. Demand for IoT. Based on OECD survey, Korea was number 1 in the world in number of connected IoT devices for every 100 persons. As you may know, Korea's smart home market is considered to have already satisfied the technological and environmental conditions for providing complete IoT services. This is a case of investment. US-based C company, maybe you know, which is the world's biggest network solutions provider, has continued to make investment in Korea. IoT-based company, iOS-based smart city sectors. Another sector is robot. Korea overtook Japan in 2015 as the second biggest market for industrial robots in terms of sales volume, and has maintained that ranking in 2016. Yes. Korea has such a large industrial robot market because its manufacturing industry accounts for 30% of GDP even higher than Germany and Japan, because it is a global leader in automotive, display, and semiconductor industries. So Boston Consulting Group predicted that Korea will remain world number one in industrial robot density. Korea's current level of robots technology is considered to be fourth in the world. Yes, this is the investment case. Japan, leading global industrial robot company called Y, built its first robot factory in Korea. Germany company K established its first Asia Research Institute in the Daegu area to develop robot automation solution. So another area we are looking at is big data in Australia. Yes, I found this difference. I just been here around 3 months. Thanks to the active investment by the government and private sector, Korea's big data market is growing at a faster rate than any other market in the world. By sector, as of 2016, the private sector accounted for 70% of Korea's big data market. Korea's big data market is focused on investment in infrastructure such as server, storage, and networks. The technology level of Korea big data industry is considered to be around 65% or 3 years behind that of advanced countries. Investment cases, US-based mobile advertising company called T acquired Korea big data startup F, and Japanese company reward another reward-based advertising platform startup, and they acquired. Also, Korean energy data analysis startup E received large-scale investment from global investment fund. Cloud. Clouds are services that allow companies or individuals to use IT infrastructure by paying only for the services and used without having to purchase the necessary servers or hardwares. Korea's cloud market is growing at the same level as global market. Korea's cloud industry is expected to grow, but still it is early stages. The cloud adoption rate of companies is 37% in advanced countries, but merely 18% in Korea. However, this also means that there are great opportunities for providers, starting with opportunities to supply service to companies, IT games, like other major Korean industries. Individual demand. As you know, mobile data usage in major countries, Korea ranked number 3, and also mobile data using in Korea is very quickly rising. This investment case from company M, global company A, and I opened its service in Korea. So if you want to know about the real name of this MAAI, just contact me. I can tell you in private way. Semiconductor. As you know, Korea is number 1 country in DRAM area. Korea's semiconductor industry recently undergoing a paradigm shift in demand and experiencing a record boost. Corporate investment in facilities is also growing. DRAM market, the share of the global DRAM market of the Korea manufacturer is around 75%. Korea companies like making extensive investment to meet this surging demand or memory chips from some smartphone like IT gadget you have. Last year, Korea semiconductor equipment maker surged by around 70% again, taking #1 spot from Taiwan, which had been at the top for the past 5 years. Yeah, these are investment case from Japan, Italy, and Sweden. VR. Korea's VR market is expected to grow by an average annual growth rate of 40%. And technology, Korea's overall technology level appears to be slightly ahead of China, but is still behind the US, EU, and Japan. For VR devices, Korea is currently highly competitive on the global stage, as large companies are using their technology for manufacturing small OLED displays. Some kind of, you can see smartphone-based HMD devices already. VR, those are investment case for the Korean VR companies. It's in the 15 minutes? Okay, good. So in conclusion, you will find additional information on our website. I also hope you will check out the Kotra Express as well as our blog and LinkedIn page, which are all quick and easy way to keep up with what's going on in Korea. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Trade Commissioner Pyon. I've never seen anyone go through 65 slides in 15 minutes, but you managed to do it, so congratulations. And what a fantastic set of statistics and slides that you had for us, and definitely showed a solid case for investing in Korea. I know one of the stats up there was the Wi-Fi speed, and one of my frustrations of coming back to Australia after living in South Korea for a couple of years was how slow our internet is and how quick it is in Korea. So thank you for that. Just to also mention, we do have a few representatives here from Kotra, and they have quite a few brochures outside. So if you are interested in finding out more of what Trade Commissioner has said today, please don't hesitate to speak to any of the representatives or have a look at some of the brochures outside.